Prophecy is as old as the creation of man. According to our text, God talked with Adam, and thus Adam could be considered a prophet. From another perspective, it could be argued that prophecy only began with Moshe. Yet, a case could also be made that the onset of the prophetic experience in ancient Israel first happened when Samuel anointed Saul. The popular stance suggests that the prophets of the mid-8th century BCE, Hosea, Amos, Micah, and Isaiah, was the first era where prophecy was given. Indeed, each of these claims is accurate and depends to a large extent upon our definition of prophecy. Let's look at 8 of them. Communication with the divine. Prophecy demands a personality with extreme sensitivity, intelligence, and spiritual acuity to match. To perceive and receive God's word, the individual must begin with exceptional intellect and superior morals. He or she must then be trained in the ways of prophecy. This would mean that at any point, those men and women with whom God speaks would be considered prophets. Adam, Eve, and Noah were all prophets. This approach forces one to then explain how God's word came to some less than stellar individuals such as Laban, Abimelech, and Balaam. Nevertheless, the notion that a person can reach a sufficiently sublime level to receive divine communication would qualify as prophecy. Representative of the divine message. In Genesis, the only prophet who identified as a representative of the divine message is Abraham. When Sarah was taken by Abimelech in Genesis 20, God appeared to Abimelech in a dream and ordered him to return the woman of that man, that is the married woman, to Abraham because he, Abraham, is a prophet, and he will pray for you and you will be revived. Abraham being a prophet, notice that. Abraham being a prophet is not the reason suggested for Abimelech's return of Sarah. Rather, because he was a prophet, Abraham's prayer were most effective in healing Abimelech. The messenger. Although God spoke to numerous individuals prior to Moshe, none of them were entrusted with an explicit oratory mission. The words were dictated to them as commands, warnings, chastisements, punishments, promises, exhortations, and covenants. But at no point were these words to be transmitted further. All of these communications were intended for the recipient alone as means of protecting God's favored ones. That is, Sarah from Abimelech and then Jacob from Laban. Indeed, it seems that at least in several cases, the prophets kept God's word to themselves, as in the case of Rebekah in the prophecy about her children. She kept it to herself. Moses is the first prophet to undergo an initiation, and his first encounter with the infinite is all about the mission. It is his job not only to face up with Pharaoh and to lead God's people out of Egypt, but also to deliver a specific and explicit divine message to both recipients. He is to tell the elders of Israel that God has remembered them and that he will take them out. He is also to tell the king of Egypt that the God of the Hebrews has sent him with a clear message about his people and his plans for them. Moshe's agency is the first time that the formula Ko Amah Yehovah, thus says Yehovah, is used in reference to God. If we define a prophet as a messenger of God's word, Moses is certainly the first. He is the father of the prophets, the lawgiver. Beyond the sea change in the divine word that Moshe's agency signals, He serves another unique prophetic function. Alone among humans, Moshe is a lawgiver. Not only does he transmit God's words about history and destiny, he receives God's eternal law and enforces its integration into the national ethos. Viewed through the lens of the rest of the canon, Moshe is the only lawgiver, in spite of various reforms instituted by Ezekiel and Ezra, and quite possibly Samuel and others. Moses is the beginning as well as the end of legislation. In any case, Moshe's position in history as a prophet is assuredly unique and is uniquely assured. God defines the impossibility of comparison in his famous chastisement of Aaron and Miriam. What we see in Numbers 12:6. He said, "Please listen to my words. If there be prophets among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known to him in a vision. I will speak to him in a dream. Not so is my servant Moshe. He is faithful throughout my house. With him I speak mouth to mouth, in a vision and not in riddles, and he beholds the image of Yahweh. So why were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" One critical footnote in our brief treatment of Moshe's prophecy. Moses himself is not called prophet until he is eulogized in the final passage in Deuteronomy. You did not realize that, huh? I'll repeat. Moses himself is not called prophet until he is eulogized in the final passage of Deuteronomy. The one instance of prophet in Exodus refers to Aaron as Moshe's prophet. There, prophet clearly means spokesperson and implies nothing about spiritual character or communication with the divine. Absent from Leviticus, the word appears 5 times in Numbers. 4 of these appear in reference to the 2 Nevi'im, the 2 prophets in the camp, Eldad and Medad, and in Moshe's fervent wish that all the people would be prophets. The final mention is in God's words to Aaron and Miriam about other prophets aside from Moshe. In both passages, Moses is the assumed model for prophecy, but never referenced explicitly as a prophet. In Deuteronomy, all references but one refer to prophets other than Moshe, false prophets or prophets in the mold of Moshe, but never Moshe himself. The one time we are told that Moses ends the sobriquet of prophet is at his eulogy. And there was no other prophet who arose in Israel like Moshe, whom the Lord knew face to face. We will continue from the court prophet in the next video.